Hello, brother.
As I mentioned, send your emails to techpodcast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, you can just write us directly in the patron Discord and skip the inbox entirely, which I believe, yes, which is exactly what Hachikumo did. This was a Discord message. Hachikumo wrote today saying, I'm listening to a rant about the poor choice of participants in the Battlegrounds Brawl event. The lack of women and the choice of famous yet non-Battlegrounds players seems to annoy people. Since these Battlegrounds events are so rare, how should invites be distributed? This is a weird topic for, I think, anyone who creates content or streams within the Hearthstone space, because I think if we weren't invited, which no one on this program was, we're going to be a little biased, and be like, yo, I would love to get in on that. Well,
but I think that there's definitely an argument for some people who were overlooked that goes beyond just like, I'm a content creator and it would be super nice to be involved, right? Like, I think that there are some people who have medium to large followings on Twitch that also are at, say, like the top of the leaderboards in 2 different regions, like Wobbleweezy and, Sir Salty, and people who have really built their Twitch careers around playing Battlegrounds, which some of, I think, the criticism of who got invited are that they very much seem to be like the old guard of Hearthstone and who may or may not be Battleground specific players, which doesn't even really seem to make a whole lot of sense from Blizzard's point of view. If you're trying to market Battleground specifically, you should be inviting Battleground specific players so that when people find them through your event, when they then go over to Twitch, they're like, oh, hey, yeah, they're doing the thing that I am following to watch them do. If you enjoy Battlegrounds Brawl and you want to see Twitch streamers playing Battlegrounds, and then you're like, oh, hey, I really liked Tice. And then you go to the stream and you're like, oh, he's playing High Legend Ladder. There's nothing wrong with High Legend Ladder, but I was here for Battlegrounds and it's not what he streams. So I think it's not necessarily the best choice if the whole point of this is to market Battlegrounds.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I have a background in marketing. I worked in marketing for a while too. And so there's a couple ways you can think of an event. There's the prospect of gaining new audience, and then there's the prospect of entertaining current audience to keep them. You have to do both things in marketing. You have to gain and you have to keep. So if you want to be gaining new viewers, then obviously you're going to try and invite the most influential people. Doesn't matter who they are. They just need to be the most influential. And if you already have a base, then you should be trying to invite the core of the base to entertain and keep those people interested in what this is. So the problem, I think what people are seeing is that they invited pretty much like the most influential people as they saw it, as opposed to who is the core of Battlegrounds. A lot of the core Battleground streamers who have really built audience based on Battlegrounds are not invited, which is, in my opinion, a huge miss on their part, because there's so many people who are invested in Battlegrounds aren't going to be seeing their favorite Battlegrounds players. And instead seeing people who do not play Battlegrounds, who are just trying to learn, and they're not going to be competitive, and that's a huge miss, in my opinion. Now, if they're focusing on just trying to get new people in, then that's different, and then the list is fine-ish. It's lacking women. But I have, a lot of opinions on it.
Well, and I think that, to speak to your point about inviting influencers and kind of reaching maybe people who aren't familiar with Battlegrounds, but are familiar with these personalities. I think I was listening to Sun Glitters. If you guys don't follow her, go find her. I'll link her Twitter in the show notes. She's awesome. But she made a really, really good point about the crossover in audience with some of these big streamers, particularly the ones that have been around basically since Hearthstone kind of started. So if you're looking at like Trump and Kibler and Firebat, like these guys stream at different times during the day. So there's a really high chance that the people who, you know, start their day watching one will then, you know, just when they go offline, they'll go to the next one. And then, you know, Fireback goes offline, they'll go over to Kibler or whatever. And so you're not necessarily, even though they all have high viewer counts, they might actually be pulling in the same audience. So would there be a benefit to potentially not inviting a couple of those guys and instead using those spots to reach the Battleground community, or even grab other streamers who maybe come from different places or stream at different times of the day or whatever, aren't part of this like OG Hearthstone streamer group that might just have a different audience? Because there seems to be, or there is very likely a big crossover in audiences there.
It's, yeah. That one's kind of, I don't know. Comparing schedules seems weird to me because I feel like, you know, schedules can and do change. And there's, I don't know, I guess unless you're talking to Twitch, it's anecdotal at best, right? You have no way of really confirming if there's a lot of crossover in the community or in those viewers or not. So I
think there's definitely a lot of click. Yeah, you can see the click viewership. There's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of people want to watch each other's friends. So there is definitely crossover. Like Firebat viewers are typically the same viewers as Zelay and Purple. That's the type of click that, and then again, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's just a lot of crossover because they promote each other the most. So people or streamers who promote each other will generally have the same audience.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the schedule thing. It popped into my mind, but yeah, you really kind of laid it out very nicely. Slysssa is saying about the marketing portion of it. It's like, I get that they're just inviting the biggest names, but at that point, I think
it's too late for that. I think that was the first tournament was that. And after that, you know, some of them fell off and never played Battlegrounds again until they're re-invited. And then they start playing again because you want money and, you know, you're part of a tournament. But what's going to happen is they're probably going to just not play it again. And so, I don't know. I think at this point, when you're this far into a game and have a huge established community, let's foster the community. You know, and once the community is fostered, then it brings rivalries. People love rivalries, right? Rivalries are what draws people in to see games. And these can't be fostered when half the people stop playing it. Not really a rivalry anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, and people would love to see the rivalry of some of these of Battlegrounds streamers that weren't invited.
Yeah. Also from a marketing aspect, if you're trying to just bring in new viewers, like why stop at Hearthstone players? Why aren't you going and getting other auto battler streamers of large renown? If you're looking at players who don't typically play Battlegrounds often, if at all.
Right.
I don't know. It poses some odd questions. It's been quite the topic in the Discord for us. So, I see comments on Reddit being like, well, why would they invite girls if there's no high ranked girls? Well, there's plenty.
Yeah, there are though.
Just
that's
not known about because it's not marketed.
Well, and I think also because they haven't invited like Wobbleweezy or Victor or Sir Salty, there's that argument holds no water, right? That they're, you know, inviting based on rank, because if they were, those guys would have a seat at the table. So, you know, saying that, oh, well, there aren't any good women, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Especially when you're inviting like pro circuit players that I've never once seen stream Battlegrounds. Like,
yeah.
What? Yeah, that type of shit drives me crazy.
Oh no, I opened up the swear train.
Oh, PG-13. That's the rule on this show.
Got it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I've got my own. I've got my own branded one. This is some bullshit.
There you go.
There it is, branded. So, yeah, it's also I don't know. Like, there's so many thoughts here. Like, I really liked the first Battlegrounds Brawl. It was the most, to me, it was like the most watchable Hearthstone event in a really long time. It was just so new and so fresh and so different. I'm surprised it's been this long until we've had another one. Like, I don't know why they don't.
I don't think that was intended. I think COVID happened.
Yeah. And I mean, they're expensive, right? Like, these guys are getting a lot of money just to show up.
Maybe you don't have the price pool so freaking high, and maybe you invite more people and have more frequent events. And I don't buy. I get COVID, but I don't, like, if only this was a game that existed on the internet where people streamed it from the comfort of their own freaking homes. Like,
so part of the enjoyment is seeing them all up there together, right?
Oh, yeah, that is very fair. The production was great.
It's like done in a studio, and it's done in a way that, and then you could there's a lot that goes behind that scene.
Well, then I'm going to come out and say I needed it. I was really stressed when COVID first broke, and I would have loved a couple extra Battlegrounds brawls to take my mind off of things. So figure it out, Team 5. It's not my problem. I'm not the production crew, but yeah. These are, I don't really have much else to say. I think Slysssa and Joss, you guys really hit the nail on the head. And it's always, anything that's invitational is always going to have these types of conversations swirling around it. I mean, just look at when Grandmasters kicked off. Like, God, I think we spent 2 months almost every episode talking about how, well, is it competition if people are just being invited? Like,
spoiler alert, it was not.
Yes. Yes. And then it looked like they were fixing it this year, but Puzzle Box is still around. So,